She was light and fire, a voice that could split the sky. Janis Joplin didn't just sing, she erupted. Every performance was a confession, every note a cry for freedom. But behind the roar was a fragile soul. By 27, she was gone, alone in a Hollywood hotel room. This is the story of Janis Joplin, the small-town misfit who became rock's first queen and paid the price for burning too bright. Janis Lyn Joplin was born on January 19, 1943, in Port Arthur, Texas, a refinery town where the air smelled like oil and conformity. Life there was small, strict, and predictable. Her father, Seth, worked as an engineer at Texaco. Her mother, Dorothy, was a registrar at a local business college. They raised their 3 children to follow the rules, keep their heads down, and stay out of trouble. But Janis was never built for that kind of quiet. Even as a child, she didn't blend in. She burst out. In high school, she was the kid who didn't look or act like everyone else. She wore men's shirts, read poetry, and questioned everything. For that, she paid the price. Her classmates mocked her for her acne, her weight, her deep laugh. They called her pig and weirdo. She was voted ugliest man on campus as a cruel joke during her brief time at college in Texas. That kind of cruelty could have crushed most people, but Janis turned it into fuel. While the kids around her chased popularity, she chased something deeper, the blues. Late at night, she'd sit in her room listening to scratchy old records of Bessie Smith, Leadbelly, and Ma Rainey. She heard in those voices a kind of raw truth that didn't exist in Port Arthur. They sang about pain, loneliness, and survival, things Janis understood before she ever had words for them. "You can fill up your soul with music," she once said. "It's the only real friend I ever had." By her late teens, she started sneaking into coffee houses and bars, singing with that wild, untamed voice that seemed to come from some older, wiser soul. People stopped mid-drink when she sang. She didn't sound polished or pretty, she sounded real. Every note was a confession, a challenge, a dare to feel something. Texas, she'd later say, was a fine place if you wanted to stay quiet and behave. But that wasn't her destiny. Janis was a contradiction, fragile and ferocious, shy and fearless all at once. She wasn't built to fit in. She was built to break free, to burn bright, fast, and unforgettable. And from the very beginning, the fire was already catching. In 1962, Janis Joplin packed a bag, left Port Arthur, and pointed herself toward the horizon. She didn't have a plan, just a direction. First Austin, then San Francisco. Anywhere but Texas. Anywhere she could breathe. In Port Arthur, she was the weird girl, the one people whispered about. But on the road west, she wasn't weird anymore. She was free. Austin gave her a taste of independence. The University of Texas coffee houses and student clubs were alive with folk singers and beat poets, and Janis fit right in. She sang at open mics, sometimes barefoot, sometimes drunk, always fearless. She sang with no filter, no pretense, just pain and truth in its purest form. And people noticed. Even in those small rooms, she had the kind of voice that could silence a crowd. When she sang, it wasn't just sound, it was confession. But Austin was still too close to home. There were still people who knew her as the girl they teased. She needed a clean break, a bigger canvas. So in 1963, she headed west again, this time to San Francisco. And it was there, among the poets and the dropouts, the painters and the punks, that she found her people. The city in the mid-60s was an explosion of color and rebellion. Hippies flooded Haight-Ashbury with wild clothes, guitars, LSD, and revolution in their veins. Music poured out of every window. The air smelled like incense, pot smoke, and possibility. For the first time, Janis wasn't the outsider. In San Francisco, the misfits were the insiders. She dove in headfirst. She drank, she sang, she howled. Her voice became her calling card, the rasp of whiskey and heartbreak cutting through the psychedelic fog. She played folk songs in little bars and jammed at parties, her laughter echoing between sips of Southern comfort. She was broke, wild, and completely alive. But San Francisco had its dangers. The drugs were stronger, the nights longer, and by 1965 she was wearing down. Friends feared for her health, and she briefly returned to Texas to get clean. She swore off the scene, promised to settle down, even tried to blend back into normal life. But normal didn't fit her anymore. Within a year, she was back in San Francisco, back to the only world that made sense. By 1966, fate intervened. A local band called Big Brother and the Holding Company needed a singer. They were a scrappy psychedelic outfit, loud, unpolished, and in need of a spark. Someone told them about this crazy Texas girl with a voice like a freight train. When Janis walked into that first rehearsal, they weren't sure what to expect. She was small, shy at first glance, but when she opened her mouth, the room froze. It wasn't just volume, it was truth. Every syllable sounded like it had clawed its way out of her chest. The band knew instantly, this wasn't a singer. This was a force. She sang like she had lived every heartbreak twice and somehow found beauty in it. They started gigging around the San Francisco scene, Avalon Ballroom, the Fillmore, Golden Gate Park. Audiences didn't just listen, they felt her. She'd scream, stomp, cry, and laugh all in one song, as if her entire soul was on the line. Then came the summer of 1967, the Monterey Pop Festival. It was supposed to be a breakout moment for the San Francisco scene, a gathering of the counterculture's best. But for Janis Joplin, it was the moment she became a legend. When she stepped on stage with Big Brother and tore into Ball and Chain, everything changed. Her body convulsed with every note, veins bulging in her neck, voice soaring past the speakers. By the time the song ended, the crowd was in stunned silence. Even the seasoned artists were floored. Mama Cass, watching from the audience, was caught on camera mouthing just one word: wow. Overnight, Janis Joplin went from a local curiosity to a national obsession. Reporters scrambled to describe her, part Bessie Smith, part Hendrix, part something no one had ever seen. Columbia Records came calling, and soon Big Brother had a deal. In 1968, they released Cheap Thrills, a chaotic, brilliant album that sounded like lightning trapped on vinyl. The record was imperfect, distorted, and loud, but that was the point. Songs like Piece of My Heart and Summertime captured the storm that was Janis Joplin. It went platinum and stayed at #1 for weeks. But success didn't calm her. If anything, it made the chaos louder. Fame hit her like a hurricane. She loved the stage, the lights, the surrender, the ocean of faces screaming her name. But when the lights went out, the silence was deafening. The press called her the female Jimi Hendrix, the queen of acid rock, the wild woman of blues. But underneath it all, she was still that girl from Port Arthur, craving love, terrified of being left behind. She once told a friend, "On stage, I make love to 25,000 people. Then I go home alone." By the end of 1968, she split from Big Brother, chasing a sound that matched the storm inside her. She formed the Cosmic Blues Band, blending horns, soul, and gospel into her raw blues. Her first solo album, I Got Demol Cosmic Blues Again Mama, was bold, brassy, and polarizing. Critics were split. Some said she'd gone too far. Others said not far enough. Fans missed the chaos of Big Brother. But Janis didn't care. She told a reporter, "You can't stay in one place forever, not in music, not in life." In 1969, she played Woodstock. It wasn't her best performance. She was drunk, exhausted, her voice fraying. But even at half power, she could still tear open the night with a scream. And when the festival lights faded, the world saw her for what she truly was: a woman trying to outrun her own shadow. She'd escaped Texas, conquered America, and stood at the center of the counterculture dream. But behind the applause, something was breaking. The louder the crowd screamed, the lonelier she felt. Fame had given her everything she wanted, except peace. By 1970, Janis was living fast and fading faster. She had fallen deep into heroin and Southern comfort. Friends tried to intervene, but she brushed it off. "It's just part of the trip," she'd say. But the truth was darker. She was tired of being a symbol. She wanted to be loved for who she was, not the wild woman the media sold. She called home often, telling her parents she was okay, but she wasn't. She bounced between boyfriends, searching for stability she never found. She recorded obsessively, as if she knew time was short. That year, she formed the Full Tilt Boogie Band, a group that finally matched her energy and spirit. With them, she began recording what would become her masterpiece, Pearl. For the first time in years, she seemed happy. She told a friend, "This feels right. These guys get me." Her voice was stronger, her songs more refined, her confidence returning. Tracks like Cry Baby, Move Over, and Me and Bobby McGee revealed a singer who had lived 100 lives in one. But she was walking a razor's edge. On October 1st, 1970, Janis recorded Mercedes-Benz. It was spontaneous, just her, a microphone, and a wry grin. In the song, she prayed to God for material things: a Mercedes, a color TV, a night on the town. It was satire, but also sadness, a cry from someone who had everything but still felt empty. 3 days later, on October 4th, 1970, Janis Joplin was found dead in her hotel room at the Landmark Motor Hotel in Hollywood. Cause of death: a heroin overdose, possibly mixed with alcohol. She was 27. Her ashes were scattered along the California coast. Her final album, Pearl, was released posthumously. It went to #1. Me and Bobby McGee, released after her death, became her first #1 single. The song ends with the haunting line, "Freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose." It's hard not to hear that as her farewell. In death, Janis Joplin became immortal. She was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1995. Her portrait hangs in the pantheon of artists who shaped the soul of modern music. But her legacy isn't just about records or fame. It's about the truth she forced into the world. Before Janis, rock was dominated by men. After Janis, no one could deny the power of a woman who sang without apology. She broke barriers, not by trying, but by being unapologetically herself. She was messy, passionate, brilliant, insecure, outrageous, and honest. As one of her friends said, Janis didn't sing to be pretty, she sang to be free. Today, her voice still cuts through the decades. A reminder that art doesn't have to be perfect to be powerful. That sometimes, the ones who burn out fastest leave behind the brightest light.